Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to get into something really interesting. What does it actually mean to be really rich? And let me tell you, it's probably not what you first think. It goes way beyond just, dollars and cents.
Hmm.
Our guide for this is a book called Really Rich, The 10 Future-Proof Behaviors That Create Wealth by Nicholas Crown.
Right.
And our mission today is really to unpack the ideas in this book, some surprising stuff in here about how to build wealth, but also like a life that actually feels good.
Yeah.
We'll look at the author's own story and these future-proof behaviors he talks about.
Yeah, and what I find fascinating, and I think you will too, is how much he challenges the standard playbook. He's
Right.
not just like theorizing from an ivory tower. This comes straight from his own life, his own sometimes pretty tough experiences.
Right.
So it's not just how to get money, it's a whole different way of looking at value, at time, even how we interact with people. It's like a fundamental shift.
Absolutely. It sounds like it's less about finance tactics and more about, well, rethinking what success even is. So let's get into his background. He kind of lays out this path he was on initially.
Uh-huh.
He says he did everything they told me to do, good school, good grades, SATs, the whole deal. Got into a top university, graduated with honors.
It's a checklist.
Exactly. And lands this job on Wall Street, bond trader.
In New York.
At 23 years old, this was supposed to be it, the guaranteed path to riches.
Yeah, the dream, right? But then came 2010, and this really pivotal moment he describes, terrifying, really. He talks about seeing his computer screens just flashing red, 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 all 5 of them. He was down millions of dollars, just catastrophic.
Wow.
And somehow, just through sheer force of will, I guess, he managed to fight his way back to basically scratch.
Okay.
Which meant he was only down about $30,000, which, he points out for high-risk traders, that's almost like a rounding error. But that experience, it just showed him how incredibly fragile that whole world was.
Yeah, a real wake-up call.
Definitely. A brutal one.
And, his description of Wall Street itself,
Yeah.
it really bursts that whole Hollywood bubble, doesn't it?
Oh, completely.
He talks about stained suits from pulling all-nighters, shirts literally ripped from, grinding against the desk in stress. And most people weren't living the high life. They were over-leveraged, penny-pinching, living these miserable lives with, 2-hour commutes each way, never seeing their kids.
Yeah.
He felt like he'd been sold this cheap trick, he calls it.
Good.
Traded his youth and his dignity for what, exactly? And this, for me, is where the story gets really, really interesting.
It really does. Because during that pressure cooker time, he started figuring things out about himself, things totally outside finance.
Like what?
Well, he realized he was actually good at making people laugh. He was good at performing, even though his degree was in applied economics. And crucially, he hated his job, just fundamentally hated it. Which I think highlights something important. Skills don't really make the list if you despise using them, right?
So true. A lesson a lot of us learned, maybe the hard way.
Yeah.
And it actually got worse for him, didn't it, before it got better?
Oh, yeah. Rock bottom. After he left Wall Street, he ended up working in a clothing store for $14 an hour.
Wow. From Wall Street trader to that.
Yeah. He said he felt like he'd destroyed his entire life. Quite a fall.
But that low point,
Yeah.
it kind of sparked something.
It did. It became a catalyst. He started looking at what else he could do, what skills he did have. And he realized, from his Wall Street days, he'd gotten pretty good at writing resumes for executives, kind of accidentally.
Okay.
So he took a few cheap gigs just to build up some proof, a portfolio. And within 4 months, he was making over $10,000 a month doing that.
Seriously.
That quickly.
Yeah. Which, shows that early pivot.
Yeah.
Identifying a skill people valued and then, crucially, testing it out there. And that success led him to pack up and move to Miami. Miami.
Yeah.
And there he met someone else important, right? This Ed guy.
Exactly. Ed ran a massively successful digital consulting business, drove, get this, a 12-cylinder Aston Martin, had $100 of modern furniture.
Okay, so a totally different vibe from Wall Street.
Completely different kind of success, not the old school grind. And seeing Ed, seeing that different way, it really opened the author's eyes.
Gotcha.
And this is where we get to the absolute core idea of the book, his big realization. There's a very, very big difference, think in terms of an abyss between being rich and being really rich.
An abyss, that's strong language.
It is. And it wasn't just some theory he read. It hit him right when he stepped away from his own successful consulting business. He saw there was this other level, something beyond just the money.
Okay, so he wants to figure out this abyss. What's the difference? And his next move was, well, pretty unexpected.
Yeah, definitely unconventional. He jumps onto social media, makes this bet with himself. 30 days, one TikTok video every single day. Didn't tell anyone he was doing it.
Wow, just dove in.
Total experiment. His first real public go at what he calls testing and iteration.
And how did he do that? What were the videos?
He created these two characters, both played by him, the rich guy and the really rich guy.
Okay.
And there's this famous one set in a steakhouse. The rich guy is all about wasting time, trying to look important, position himself, while the really rich guy just wants to eat his steak in peace.
Huh. I can picture that.
And that video, it just blew up. Millions of views overnight, he says. It clearly hit a nerve. People got the difference immediately. It was relatable.
So what themes was he hitting on with these characters?
Really the core stuff we're talking about.
Yeah.
Questioning boundaries people set up, actively using kindness, thinking about quality of life, not just stuff, and realizing that time is the ultimate asset, not money.
Right.
The rich guy tries to just smash through walls to get what he wants.
Brute force.
Yeah. While the really rich guy, he just finds the key and strolls out the door. Effortless. Different approach entirely.
Interesting. And how does this connect to the bigger picture, like the economy?
Well, he argues there's this fundamental shift happening. We're moving away from a mass market economy, one size fits all, towards one that's customized, specialized, and economically boundless.
Boundless. What does he mean by that?
Think about it like this. Old thinking, a lot of traditional business, sees wealth like a fixed pie, right? A zero-sum game. If I win, you lose, ancient tribes fighting over scarce resources or even some parts of financial market.
Okay, I get that.
But he's saying we're moving more towards a non-zero-sum world where someone else's success doesn't take away from you. It can actually create more opportunity for you. It expands the whole pie.
You give an example?
The microchip is a great one he uses. My invention of the microchip doesn't steal from you. It actually enables your potential digital business. It makes it easier, cheaper for you to launch something new. My win helps fuel your win.
Okay. So the whole pie gets bigger. So what does this mean for us, for anyone listening, whether you're running your own thing or working somewhere?
It means the market, increasingly, is rewarding value creation where everybody can benefit. Success isn't about crushing the competition anymore, necessarily. It's about adding value in a way that lifts everyone up. That's a pretty profound shift in how we should think about business and work.
Building right on that idea, this constant value creation and listening to the market. One of the absolute core ideas in the book is iterate forever. This concept of just constantly tweaking, adjusting, reinventing what you're doing until, as he puts it, someone starts clapping.
Yeah, it's about that relentless refinement, isn't it? Based on real feedback, what the market's actually telling you it wants or needs.
He gives a really powerful example, doesn't he? The Chobani guy.
Hamdi Ulukaya, incredible story. Comes to the U.S. in '94, stateless immigrant, couldn't speak English, knew nobody.
Wow.
He just sort of reflected, okay, what else do I know how to do? And he started making this yogurt. But he had no grand plan, no blueprint. It was all persistence and incredible creativity. He just tested and iterated everything. The product itself, the manufacturing, how he sold it, tiny adjustments over and over until, bam, the market just loved it.
And the key takeaway there, the author stresses, is that iteration.
Right.
It doesn't take intelligence, money, or connections.
Right.
It just takes persistence and a little creativity.
That's it.
He calls it the sharp sword you can use to cut through tough situations and find success. It's accessible. Anyone can do it.
Exactly. And what often looks like luck in business, the author argues it's usually just the result of really, really intense iteration. It's not just chance. He contrasts the idea of someone luckily inventing a self-wringing mop with Mark Cesario, the founder of Liquid Death Water.
Okay.
Cesario describes his process as sculpting. He starts with this huge block of stone, this idea, and just keeps chipping away, refining, shaping it based on feedback. It's deliberate work.
Like Thomas Edison and the light bulb. Thousands of tries.
Precisely. It's that commitment to the process.
And think about the history here. He mentions Dick Drew at 3M inventing masking tape way back in the 1920s. To get that adhesive just right so it would stick but not too much, it took him hundreds of iterations and years of literally hoofing it, going door to door to car makers, getting feedback directly on the factory floor. Imagine doing that today.
Right. And that just underscores the massive advantage we have now with technology.
How so?
Well, the author makes the point. If Dick Drew had the internet back in 1925, inventing Scotch tape wouldn't have taken years.
Good point.
Today, you could run a super targeted Facebook ad campaign, ask potential customers directly what they think, get real feedback. You could have actionable insights in like 45 minutes.
Wow, the speed is just incredible.
It changes everything about how quickly you can test and adapt.
Which leads right into his idea of micro-tests.
Yeah, these quick, super cheap ways to see if an idea has legs.
Like his example.
Yeah.
Instead of renting a huge expensive auditorium for $10,000 to launch a music school,
Right.
you just throw some bright fluorescent flyers in a school hallway. See if anyone actually emails you showing interest.
Simple.
Low risk.
Exactly. Even really big, capital-heavy things like SpaceX. It started as an idea. Musk didn't have proof the rockets would work initially. He sold the vision first, got engineers and investors to buy into the concept. That was the initial microtest, is the idea compelling enough. Then they built it.
Okay, that makes sense. But iteration isn't foolproof, is it? Timing matters.
Hugely. This is another critical point. Value is time-dependent. You can have a great idea, but if you're too early or too late, it can totally fail.
Examples?
Well, like spending a fortune perfecting the ultimate vinyl record player in 2023, probably too late for a massive market, right?
Right. Niche, maybe.
Or look at the recent crypto stuff. Blockchain tech like Solana saw huge crashes, NFT trading volume on OpenSea. He mentions it went from like $500 million a day down to $5 million. Value can just evaporate if the timing shifts.
And being too early.
Also risky. The first version often isn't the winner. Think about Diamond Multimedia's Rio, world's first portable MP3 player. Great idea. But it wasn't the iPod or the iPhone that eventually won the market. They were maybe too early for mass adoption for the ecosystem to be ready.
Gotcha. It reminds me of that story he tells about the traders in Chicago.
Oh, the Board of Trade pit traders. Yeah, classic example of denying change.
They just refused to believe that computers were going to take over their jobs, right? These guys wearing gold Rolexes yelling in the pits.
And where did they end up? He notes, quite literally, some ended up driving taxis. Their entire skill set, their whole world, just vanished from under them because they wouldn't adapt, wouldn't iterate their own careers.
It's really stark warning.
And things move even faster now. He points out that algorithmic trading systems that used to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to build, a college kid can basically rent one for $20 a month now. That's how fast the value proposition shifts. So, trying to prop up jobs that are no longer valuable, he compares it to sticking a piece of chewing gum in a crack in the Hoover Dam. It's just not going to hold.
So the big lesson here is, listen to the market. It tells you what's valuable now, and you have to keep adjusting, keep iterating. If things aren't working, you're not necessarily doomed. You're just maybe on the wrong iteration. Time to pivot.
Exactly. Adjust and adjust quickly.
Okay, so if iteration is the how, let's get into the what. These core behaviors he identifies for being really rich. And he starts with this really fundamental question, doesn't he? The fork in the road.
Yeah, the defining question. For the merely rich, the question is often, what's hot? You know, what's the trend? Where's the quick money?
Right, chasing the next big thing.
But for the really rich, the question is different. It's, what do I do best? It starts from within. It's about leveraging your unique strengths and value, not just chasing external validation.
That's a huge shift in focus. So the first behavior building on that is treasure your time.
And his reasoning is simple but profound. Time is a finite playground. It's the only thing you truly can't get back. Money. He calls it infinite in the sense that more can always be created or earned. But time, once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, that hits home.
So if you really grasp that, then maximizing what you can do with your limited time, how many iterations you can make, how much impact you can create, that becomes the absolute priority. It changes how you make every decision.
And it makes sense when you look at technology, right? Almost every big invention is about saving time. Fundamentals.
Absolutely. The wheel, the printing press, the internet, it all makes things faster, easier, frees up time.
So how do you practically treasure time? According to the book, he talks about future casting.
Yeah, future casting. It's basically about creating a really vivid picture of where you ultimately want to end up. Your ideal future, even if you have no clue how you're going to get there right now.
Okay. How do you do that?
Could be through meditation, really visualizing it, or just old school pen and paper, writing down in detail what that really rich life looks like for you. What does it feel like? What are you doing? Who are you impacting? The idea is to make the target so clear, so compelling, that it pulls you forward and helps you make the right time allocation decisions day to day.
He even shares his own example, right? Doing consulting work he doesn't love.
Exactly. He still does some consulting to generate income that funds his AI product development. It's not his passion, but it's a strategic choice to buy the time he needs to work on his long-term vision. It's about making those conscious trade-offs.
That makes sense. Protecting your time for the big goals.
And another really practical tip is leveraging proximity. Living closer to where things happen, work, industry hubs, cultural centers, saves countless dead hours commuting or traveling.
Like Elon Musk living near SpaceX.
Precisely. And think about private jets for the super wealthy. It's often not about the luxury itself, it's about the time saved. Flying direct, on your schedule, it's a time machine.
And delegation fits in here too.
Oh, big time. He calls delegation buying time. You shift from being the person rowing the boat, the oarsman, to being the navigator, setting the course. Investing in true experts, lawyers, accountants, financial advisors, frees up your time to focus on the things only you can do. It's leverage.
All right, so treasure time. The next one is maybe surprising. Don't be a jerk. Or maybe active kindness. Why is niceness a wealth-building behavior?
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive to some traditional, maybe more cutthroat business ideas, right?
Silly.
But he argues very strongly that rudeness is value thieving. It actively destroys value. He uses the Starbucks example during the pandemic. Rude customers made employees miserable, loath to go to work, and research shows incivility can slash work effort by almost 50%. Plus, it's contagious viral, he says. So being a jerk literally costs businesses money and kills opportunity.
Wow, it actually subtracts value.
Exactly. You're taking value out of the system. He even mentions an investment bank that uses a diner test.
A diner test?
Yeah. They take job candidates to a diner and watch how they treat the waitress, Donna, in the story. How you treat the waitress predicts how you'll treat clients when the pressure's on. And some candidates actually fail that test.
Unbelievable. How much potential business is lost just through basic rudeness?
Makes you wonder, right? It comes back to that Marcus Aurelius quote he uses. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Kindness isn't just about being polite when it's easy. It's a conscious choice, an internal stance you take.
And the stories he tells to illustrate this are pretty amazing. Isaac Mizrahi.
Incredible story. A simple act of kindness, spending $1,200 to properly clean a valuable tablecloth someone spilled on at his event, years later resulted in millions in zoning approvals because the official remembered his character, his integrity.
Wow. Just from that one act.
And Larry Stewart, the Secret Santa. Guy was down on his luck. Someone showed him a small kindness, gave him $20. It changed him. He decided to make it his mission to anonymously give away money. And strangely, the more he gave, the more his own fortunes seemed to grow.
That's wild. Giving without expecting anything back.
That's the core of it. The really rich approach is giving without expectation, like his salad bar example.
Right, the person who just tips versus the person who connects.
Yeah. The person who builds a little relationship with the server, remembers their name, smiles, asks how they're often gets way more value back, like extra toppings or double portions, than someone who just throws down the same tip transactionally. It's relational, not just transactional.
And this is becoming even more important now, isn't it? With online reviews and stuff.
Absolutely. He talks about this tightening economic interconnectedness. Think about Uber drivers rating passengers now. Your invisible attitudes are now being tabulated. You're building a reputation, a kindness quotient, whether you realize it or not.
Your reputation follows you digitally.
And beyond just reputation, being actively kind makes you more open-minded, more creative, and it helps the people around you too. When you're kind, they're more receptive, which helps them solve their problems better. It creates this positive upward spiral.
Okay, so kindness isn't just nice, it's strategic. Next up, get humble, which sounds like being open-minded.
Exactly. It's the foundation for learning and iteration, really. He makes this interesting point. True confidence is the foundation of humility.
How so?
The people who are genuinely the most competent, the most skilled, they often have the clearest sense of how much they don't know. He quotes Ray Dalio, the billionaire founder of Bridgewater. Dalio opens his book Principles by calling himself a dumb shit who doesn't know much relative to what I need to know.
Wow, that takes confidence to admit.
Right. That deep self-awareness, that willingness to learn from anyone, anywhere, that's incredibly powerful. It's why, he notes, sometimes social media users actually break news faster than big organizations.
Like the Boston Marathon bombing?
Yeah, or the U.S. Airways plane landing on the Hudson. News broke on Twitter from people right there, based on trust and direct observation, way before the official channels confirmed it. Information flows differently when people are open and connected, not hierarchical.
So arrogance just blocks you off.
Totally. Arrogance simply doesn't produce the results you want. Instead of trying to step on the person next to you or dismiss their ideas because they don't have the fancy title, the humble approach is to explore whether he knows something that you don't.
Good point. Disrespect just breeds disrespect back.
It blocks your own path. Humility isn't weakness, it's smart. It's a strategic advantage for learning and growth.
Okay, and final behavior. Ignore status.
Ooh, this one might be tough for people. Status feels like, well, like success.
It does, but he argues it's often a trap. He uses the Lori Loughlin college admissions scandal as a prime example.
Right, paying bribes to get her kids into USC.
Exactly. That was purely about chasing privileged status. Using money not to create value, but to buy a leg up that literally kept other, maybe more deserving kids out. It was zero-sum, status-driven, and ultimately destructive.
So chasing status can be harmful. Yeah, he says an obsession with status leads to unhealthy competition. And often, feeling like someone else has lower status than you, that's really just an attempt to prop up your own sense of status. And that often leads directly to being rude to people you see as beneath you. It connects back to the kindness point.
It's all linked.
It is, and he makes that sharp contrast again. The rich question is, where did you go to school? Status, credentials. The really rich question is, what can you do? Competence, ability. He argues that old model of skill squatters, people just sitting on expensive degrees, expecting status to bring them work, it's becoming obsolete, especially in tech. What you can do matters way more than where you went to school.
So skills and contribution over pedigree.
Precisely.
Okay, so those are the core behaviors.
Yeah.
Iteration, treasuring time, kindness, humility, ignoring status. It paints a very different picture. How does he see this playing out in the future, especially with things like AI?
Right, artificial intelligence. He acknowledges it scares a lot of people, but his take is, so has everything that's new, unknown, and inexorably coming. Change is constant.
Yeah.
And for the really rich mindset, AI is actually the best news possible. Why? Because it massively shrinks the time traditionally needed to envision, create, iterate, and market a product. It speeds up that whole cycle we talked about. It's a huge boost for value creation.
So it helps you iterate faster.
Much faster. And yeah, jobs will be displaced. But he frames that as just history repeating itself. Scribes were displaced by the printing press, blacksmiths by engines, travel agents by the internet. It happens.
True.
But each wave also creates new kinds of jobs, new opportunities, and things like the personal computer, the internet, and now AI, they've put sheer power back into the hands of the individual to create, to innovate, to iterate.
So more power to the individual creator.
Yeah. And because of that, he predicts the whole economic hierarchy will begin to flatten. As AI handles more routine, repetitive tasks, the best ideas can arrive from every corner of the world. It doesn't matter as much where you are or what your old school credentials are. It's about the value you can create. It kind of democratizes opportunity.
That's a hopeful view.
It is. And it leads to this counterintuitive point. The safe option, like staying in a traditional job hoping nothing changes. That's actually the most dangerous option now.
Really? Why?
Because the future, he argues, will make it more risky not to be an entrepreneur than to be one. Companies will increasingly downsize older, more expensive employees who aren't constantly learning, adapting, iterating, adding new value. Stagnation is the real risk.
Wow. So being adaptable, entrepreneurial, that's the new safety net.
In a way, yeah. He says it's like we're returning to our early days, becoming techno-gatherers in a world where yesterday looks nothing like tomorrow. Constant change.
Techno-gatherers, I like that.
And he uses this great analogy of James Bond. Bond isn't truly himself, isn't happy, unless he's being sucked back into the world of espionage.
Right.
Into the challenge.
Right. He needs the mission.
And the author argues humans are the same. We need to create, solve puzzles and challenges. We need to survive and adapt in this changing landscape. That's actually key to our fulfillment, our happiness. Purpose comes from engaging with the challenge.
So it's not about avoiding risk, but embracing the creative challenge.
Exactly. And these really rich behaviors, they aren't some extra burden, some complex skill set you have to learn that feels unnatural. He argues they actually pull you closer to who you were always meant to be.
How so?
because you're perfectly designed from birth to help everyone around you move forward faster and faster in unison towards something better. These behaviors just unlock that natural potential to contribute and connect.
That's a really powerful way to end it. It's about becoming more yourself, not less.
Precisely.
So the choice, as he lays it out, is pretty clear. You can play the game this way, embrace these behaviors, unlock that potential, or you can keep chasing the old model. Maybe live a life that feels like that Faustian bargain he mentioned, trading your authentic self for some hollow version of success.
Yeah. And maybe the final thought to leave you with, something he implies throughout the book, is don't you dare withhold your unique gifts, your talents, the value only you can bring from the rest of us, from the world that I inhabit alongside you. Because if you really apply yourself, if you embrace that idea of iteration and these behaviors, you genuinely have the same potential as anyone else to create value, to make an impact, to become really rich in the truest sense.